With no further ado, I can't wait to hear what Sheila has to say. She was keynote speaker last night at the Union League Club with a bunch of VIPs and a lot of people that were celebrating this momentous occasion. So after Sheila speaks, we're going to have a little entertainment, but please welcome Sheila Simon.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, everyone, for being here to support Robin. What a great decision on your part. Way to go. Way to go. And thank you, in particular, the young suffragists. I really am glad to have you guys here. And these gals really know their history. And I just like to, let's see, I also introduce two people, my husband, Perry, and our daughter, Brennan. Talk about one little bit of my experience with the history of women and the right to vote. When I was in law school, one summer I was driving back from Illinois out to Washington, D.C. For that semester of law school, and I stopped in New York. One of my friends got married there, and while I was there, I went to the Women's Rights National Historical Park in Seneca Falls, which is the coolest thing. I recommend it to anyone. You get to tour Elizabeth Cady Stanton's house, and you get to hear about the details of her life. So here's a woman who led a national movement, who worked with Frederick Douglass, who ran her household and did all of this all while wearing about 10 pounds of clothes. I thought that was one of the most interesting details, as if all of that wasn't a burden enough. Man, you were literally weighed down by what you were wearing. And I was so inspired by that. I had all my camping equipment with me in the car, and I thought, I'm going to really be brave, like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and on my way back to Washington, I'm going to camp out by myself. And the first night I did somewhere in New York, and it was wonderful. I loved it. And the second night I was in Pennsylvania, and I camped out in this park, and at night there were these noises. And that was when I had taken a hike in the park, and at night while listening to these noises by a flashlight, I'm reading the information about the park, and it talks about the annual number of bears that are there in the park. And of course, every noise then that I heard, I was positive was a bear. And of course, I'm the only one in a little pup tent. Everyone else is in a camper, and I'm thinking, I'm the one who's going to get eaten by the bear. And then when I woke up the next morning, I could hear that same noise of the bears out there, and I peeked out of the tent, and there's a couple of chipmunks. So anyway, that's my experience of being inspired by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and the early women's rights movement. And knowing about bravery, even when you think you need more than you do. But bravery is what it's all about, and bravery is what we're called upon to use some of in the course of campaigning for Robin and everyone else. Think about who we need to influence to vote, because I think our strongest opponent in this election is not any cast of Republicans, but the number of folks who are turned off by politics in general, right? Folks who just say yuck to the whole thing. Yes, even someone here raising her hand. Was that you saying you're turned off by the whole thing? Gene, that's terrible. You're here. Very good. And so what I'd like you to think about is, who are those folks that we need to have that conversation with, that we need to say, hey, your vote is really incredibly valuable. Your vote is how you participate in this democratic process, and it really does matter. And this year there's even more ways to vote early, to vote easily, to do it all at once, to register and vote in one fell swoop. It's so compelling. And we need to do that with all the folks that we might usually talk to. You can name your list of usual political friends, right? In fact, all of those friends are already registered, and all of those friends are probably going to vote. And we need to go that step beyond to the folks that we don't always talk with. Sometimes members of our own family who you'd rather not have the political discussion with because it doesn't always turn out right. You know them. But we need to grab those people, and we need to make sure all of them vote, because when all of our buddies vote, and when they all vote for Robin, and me too, I will be happy to accept all their votes. But that's when we're all going to win, because democracy is something that works better when we have more and more and more voices. It's not a too many cooks spoiling the broth. It's more voices make better decisions every single time. So I thank you for participating vigorously in the process, for supporting Robin, and I would love to stick around for the dance, but we are driving back home to Carbondale tonight, and we're going to go right out of here. So thank you, everyone. I look forward to seeing you again.